Okay, so I hope you ain't as dumb as me to collect dozens of plugins just to find out that you can get the same or even better tools either for free or for a fraction of price. Yes, I'm talking about Max for Life devices built by producers for producers. Yet it's not a corporate slogan. There is really a group of total nerds that can turn something that looks like the poor cable management under your desk into something hella useful. Oh, I actually meant something like this. There is a Hard Knock Life catch though, nothing is really free here. I know that some of you here don't use Life Suite, so you either need to upgrade or buy Max for Life alone. But is it worth it? By default, you already get a bunch of tools that the standard version of Life is missing, like any sort of LFO or shaper. Here, for example, I used shaper to speed up my automation process because I'm lazy as f. So you can basically draw any type of shape you want or just use default ones and obviously map it to any parameter in live session. Here, for example, I use this shape to modulate the global feedback of this plugin. And the second shaper is actually controlling the depth of the first one, and that gives a cool effect like this. Now let's move to some more unique devices. There is a free pack called Creative Extensions, which includes the well-known color limiter as well as two of my favorite ones, which is Pitch Hack and Spectre Blur. So Spectre Blur is a no-brainer for creating atmospheres and ambience out of anything. Simply just increase the dry and wet knob and choose the frequency which you want to blur. So with the second one called Pitch Hack, you can make yourself a free version of halftime on stereos. So all you gotta do here is just, for example, turn this to octave down. You can change rate and also reverse it. Let's try an octave up then. Okay, but chances are you already knew about those, so let's move to one-of-the-kind miracles. Or even better things like ML distance. So you can pan things to left and right, which is obviously nothing new, but it takes care of the very important thing that a lot of people are missing out. So take a listen what happens once I change the distance. So it not only makes those hi-hats quieter, but also cuts a little bit of high frequency, which is the experience of distance you can get in real life, if you ever touched grass once. Following the suggestion of one of my fellow viewers, I tried loop flip, and well, I don't regret making this video about generating drops, but loop flip puts my technique into shape. As the name suggests, you need to have some loops to flip in the session view. So I prepared those three from the drop video, and they are basically the same melody, but with different instruments. So I placed them in the one audio track, and now all I got to do is to create a new MIDI track underneath audio track with my clips and then place a loop flip on it. I also prepared some other ones, but let's focus on this single one. And now simply all you got to do is to press generate. And you know what? It actually works better if you have more loops to work with. You can imagine that it works really well for drum breaks, melodies and everything in between. And forgive me that I'm not explaining everything what's happening here, but honestly, it's that type of device you need to experience for yourself. And lucky you, I managed to get you a 20% discount both for loop flip and the next device I'm gonna show you. I can't promise that it will appear after you click the like button underneath this video, but you can try or keep watching. Okay, I don't want to sound cheesy, but the next device actually blew my mind. So my go-to advice if you get bored of your tracks would be to use Sound Shifter by Waves and then try it in a different pitch. And it works fine, but then you need to go through all of your audio and MIDI clips. You can speed this process a little by highlighting everything, pressing Shift and Tab, then highlighting everything here and then changing the pitch. But it's not as fast as VariSpeed. So I have it by default on my master track, and take a listen what happens once I change the pitch. maybe now change it down. And one more step. Yup, it automatically shifted all of my MIDI notes and tonal audio tracks. But if you ask how my drums are still the same, then well, my friend, take a look at this advanced tab. So basically with this little thing you can exclude the sounds by typing their names. And obviously I have the drum, kick, snare, hi-hat. I think it's a basic one, but it works well for me because sometimes you don't want to shift your drums. By the way, it also synchronizes with tuning plugins you can see here. Before we jump to two of my favorite mixing devices, just a quick reminder, all the links to all of those devices as well as the discount code is down in the description. So I think we all can have some sort of doctor's degree in mixing, kick and bass and sidechaining. So Chain Shaper is actually super transparent, but you can change it to a classic mode with this drop-down menu, or simply by drawing your own curve. Now just some quick starting tips. You can obviously have as many points as you want and then shape your sidechain curve however you want. But if you, for example, want to delete the point you made by accident, simply just press Shift and then double click on this point. As well as when you press Option on Mac, you can then smoothen out the curve. Once you press this arrow, you can then sidechain lows, mids and highs individually with different curves. And yeah, I know some sidechaining plugins and compressors can already do that, but there are two things that sold Chain Shaper to me. First one being this huge oscilloscope window, which basically stays in place if you're gonna engage it, and I always like to use it to check my kick and bass relationship and some phase issues I may have. So as you can see, I chose a really tight sidechaining method, but once I will change the curve, you can see it responds instantly. And let me just try the medium one, then maybe change the curve a little bit. So if you aim to make people's eardrums bleed with super loud tracks like me, oh my god, I almost died! Sometimes you need to sidechain both kick and snare. Instead of using like a couple of instances for different types of sidechaining, you can then just simply press this channel thing and then route, for example, your snare to it and use another curve. And speaking of super loud, I can't forget about GM Audio Clipper. I like to use K-Clip and saturate by newfangled audio, but I wanted to have something simple and easy to use directly on my devices panel. So first cool thing is that it has a listen button, so you can quickly check what you're actually clipping. You can change the knee, which basically determines if you're going for hard clipping or soft clipping, and obviously some standard controls for ceiling, input and output. So I got it for a price of lunch money, and honestly I see and hear no difference compared to, for example, K-Clip. Let me just quickly test it out. I have a K-Clip on my drum bus, let's solo it, and as you can see we're clipping at around 1.8 dB, so let's use and adjust the same clipping to GM Audio Clipper. It's about the same right now. So that's the GM Audio Clipper, and that's K-Clip. And you know what? The cool thing is that building Max for Live devices seems to be a pretty fun experience, and it's not that big of a wizardry if you know the basics. I think I need to jump on learning how to code, but first